Let's talk about autism and personal hygiene. Hey folks, welcome to the Autistic Adoptee channel. Like the channel name suggests, I am both autistic and I am an adoptee. Okay, this episode's topic is a very hard one to talk about. It's a source of shame and embarrassment for many autistic people, including myself, very much including myself. So if you leave a comment, please be gentle. Please be kind. Stated simply, personal hygiene is a struggle for many autistic people. And the struggle can vary in degree from a mild irritation that's easily ignored to a significant hurdle that significantly impacts a person's life. So it can be as simple as I find this hygiene task or tasks uncomfortable. I don't like them, whatever, but I do it anyways. Or it can be as significant as I find this hygiene task so difficult, so uncomfortable that it impacts my physical, mental, or social health. Personally, I fall somewhere between those two extremes, probably closer to the middle. And for me, my personal hygiene struggle centers around my sensory issues and autistic inertia. So let's talk about autistic inertia first. This topic probably warrants its own dedicated episode, but to quickly sum it up, this is the autistic brain's tendency to prefer a constant state, if that makes sense. So, if an autistic person is asleep, their brain prefers to stay asleep, wants to stay asleep. If they're awake, their brain wants to stay awake. It prefers to stay awake. If they're sitting, staring at a wall, zoning out, their brain wants to stay sitting, staring at a wall, and zoning out. If they're working on a project, their brain wants to continue working on that project. This makes transitions hard. Getting the autistic brain to transition to a new state, a new task, a new activity is often a difficult feat. This also means it's hard to start or stop activities. It's hard to resume an activity if there's been an interruption. It's hard to make decisions about what to do, especially what to do next. It's easy to lose track of time. It's difficult to find motivation. This obviously can affect many areas of an autistic person's life, not just personal hygiene. But like I said, autistic inertia is its own separate episode. There's so much there. So anyways, due to autistic inertia and PDA, which is a whole other topic. So due to autistic inertia, I often struggle to motivate to do things that I know I should do, right? Things that I need to do, and even things that I truly, truly want to do. I often forget to eat. I love to eat, and I forget. I forget to go to the bathroom until it becomes urgent and or painful. I can't motivate myself to exercise, and I would truly like to start exercising again. It's difficult to motivate myself to go to bed. I've talked about my sleep issues in a previous episode. It's hard to motivate myself to do housework, and it's completely unfair to my partner, to my wife, to dump all the housework on her. And to get back on topic, I struggle to motivate myself to shower, to bathe, to clean myself, right? My intent is to shower every other day. Since I retired, I often fail at this intention, and I'll go several days in a row without showering. Sometimes it'll be as long as a week. Occasionally it'll be even longer than that. And like most things in my life, this goes in streaks, right? I'll go for a long stretch of being really good about showering every other day, and then I'll go for a long stretch where it's a real struggle. It's very much this back and forth thing for me. So the major saving grace for me, and I mentioned this in a previous episode. The major saving grace for me here is that I don't really develop body odor. And this isn't just me saying this. It's been verified by my partner and others. As I mentioned in that previous episode, this is one of the few genetic advantages that I have been given, right? I naturally do not produce a lot of fatty acids in my sweat. Body odor is a byproduct of bacteria feeding on fatty acids, and so I don't develop a lot of body odor because of that. How much fatty acid your body produces is like most physiological things. It's down to genetics, and I'm very lucky in this regard. Not showering regularly, having an irregular shower schedule, does mean that my hair will get progressively greasier, and that the psoriatic plaques and dandruff that I suffer from will build up on my scalp, since I'm not showering and therefore not shampooing, and using the medicated shampoos that I use to treat my scalp. Also, this is a big one. I also only brush my teeth in the shower. So not showering regularly means that I'm not brushing my teeth either. So compounding my struggle with autistic inertia are my sensory issues, which I went into in greater depth in a previous episode. I mentioned in that episode that the reason why I only brush my teeth in the shower is because the sensory experience of brushing my teeth is an absolute squick for me. I cannot stand the feeling of toothpaste and saliva drooling down my chin, sometimes down my neck. And if I try to bend over the sink while I'm brushing my teeth, the toothpaste and saliva will run down my hand, and sometimes down my wrist and down my arm, and I can't bear that. It's a total squick for me. So I brush my teeth in the shower so that I can instantly rinse away any drooled saliva and toothpaste. As a kid in the 70s and 80s, I remember a dental hygienist coming to school to talk about dental health. She demonstrated proper toothbrushing and flossing using this giant set of teeth and an equally giant toothbrush and floss as props. We were given a questionnaire that had questions about How often do you brush? How long do you brush for? How often do you floss? Do you use mouthwash? How often? Blah. Um, you get the idea. Uh, I think this was like third or fourth grade, something like that. I answered the questionnaire honestly. That I treated brushing my teeth like a once a week type of task, type of thing. And that resulted in my mother being called into school for a conversation with me and the school nurse. And that was utterly humiliating. Anyhow, uh, showers in general are a sensory issue for me. Um, I have never come out of a shower feeling refreshed. I always come out of the shower feeling drained, feeling tired, um, overheated, sweating, and I end up sitting on the bed, sitting on the edge of the bed, just looking at my phone for 30 minutes or so before I can actually get myself moving to get dressed and get on with whatever. And there's a lot to unpack here. So I think that I think that I feel so drained and tired after showers because of sensory overload. So let's start with like my tendency to overheat and sweat very easily. The shower is this warm, humid environment, and even though I only shower in lukewarm water, I don't turn it up blazing hot or anything like that. It's very much lukewarm, just above room temperature water. Because it's such a humid, moist, warm environment, I overheat. I end up overheating even though I'm using lukewarm water. Showering in cold water, which I have tried, is an entirely different sort of sensory nightmare, so that's not a real option either. There's also all the scents, all the smells, and all the feels of soaps and shampoo and conditioner and all of that. Unfortunately, the medicated shampoos that I use to treat the to prevent and treat the psoriatic plaques and the dandruff are very strong smelling, very medicinal and chemically smelling. And even though I actually start out enjoying the feeling of the water spraying against my skin, by the end of the shower, it's after a while it becomes kind of overwhelming. It becomes an overwhelming sensation. So at the end of all of that, at the end of the shower, I'm overstimulated, I'm drained, I'm overheated, and yeah, all the things. So the sensory issues combined with the autistic inertia means that showering is a struggle for me to be consistent with. Thankfully, I have that whole no body odor genetic advantage that I mentioned, and I am also blessed with really good teeth. In spite of my irregular toothbrushing schedule, I consistently get told that I'm doing a great job brushing and flossing at home whenever I go in to have my teeth checked, whenever I go to the dentist. I truly understand that these genetic advantages are a privilege for me that not every autistic person has. And I get that this genetic advantage is, reduces the amount of health and social impacts that my hygiene struggles might otherwise have. So I get that not all autistic people who struggle with personal hygiene are this fortunate. So I just wanted to acknowledge that I understand that I have privilege here. So how do I manage autistic inertia and sensory issues? For the autistic inertia, I find that schedules and routines help. Before I retired, showering was built into my morning routine. That, however, was also a period, the period of time that I was masking the most. The time that when I was constantly in a state of burnout, and I wouldn't repeat any of that if I could do it over again. But because it was part of my morning routine that I would do pretty much on autopilot, because I was seriously zombified. I've mentioned that I am not a morning person. So having that routine that I could do on autopilot truly helped a lot. Now that I'm retired, it's actually harder. I don't have that same set schedule where I have to be somewhere, and that is the driving motivation. This is a good thing. It's a good thing that I don't have that set schedule, because I'm not in a constant state of burnout. I'm not having to mask all the time. I'm not having to conform to that forced schedule. And I'm not having to spend the majority of my day surrounded by people, right? People that I have to interact with. It also means that I don't have a schedule forcing me to shower every day. So now I have to fight the inertia myself in order to build up that motivation, in order to motivate myself. So what do I do? Countdowns and timers help. I will tell myself something like, I need to get in the shower at a particular time. And sometimes I will literally set a timer on my phone, give myself a certain amount of time, and at the end of that time, I have to get up and start getting ready for the shower. Or I'll set an alarm. I set an alarm for the same reason. For whatever reason, 3:00 in the afternoon is the time that jives in my brain, that my brain is now associated with showering. So I'll try to if it's a shower day, I will try to ensure that 3:00 in the afternoon, I have a countdown or a timer to get me ready. Also, I find it helps a lot if I say it out loud. Not to anyone in particular. Sometimes, I'm home alone or whatever. But just saying to the air, I will get in the shower at 3 p.m. Helps. Simply deciding in my head isn't as palpable and not as real as saying it out loud, if that makes sense. Also, I have found that it is easier to overcome autistic inertia if I'm standing. I think that this is because standing is somewhat of a transitional position, a transitional state, if that makes sense, as opposed to like sitting or laying down. Okay, I smoke, not a lot, maybe like literally like half a pack a day at most. I don't smoke in the house though. When I used to, when I lived alone, I would smoke in the house, but even then, I hated the smell that especially stale, when it gets stale, that stale cigarette smoke smell building up on everything, my clothes, my hair, everything. So when my wife and I moved in together, her asthma and her intense dislike for the smell became very good reasons for me to stop smoking indoors, to start going outside. So now I have to actually get up and go outside in order to smoke. And I use these smoke breaks intentionally. I use these smoke breaks to break up my day and help me to transition from one thing to another. So, just as a quick disclaimer here, I'm not advocating for smoking. I do not advocate for smoking. I truly, truly wish that I had never started when I was a kid. I started when I was like 11, 12, 13. I forget when, but it was pretty early on. The issue with smoking for me now is that because it's built into so many of the routines and rituals that I rely on to function, quitting smoking means a lot of work building new routines, new rituals, and I do quit from time to time. I'll quit for a week or so just to prove to myself that I could. I quit for a year once just to prove to myself that I could. I just find that the routines and rituals around smoking, I find them to be so comforting because I've been doing them for so long, and there's that inertia piece again. Maybe I'll do an entire episode about autism and addiction at some point. Anyhow, back to the topic. For showers, I'll use a smoke break as a reason to stand up. And like I said, standing is kind of a transitional position, a transitional state, right? So I'll use a smoke break as a reason to stand up and take a break from whatever it is that I'm currently doing. And then when I'm done smoking, because I'm already standing, it is easier for me to make myself immediately go, after coming inside, immediately going to the bedroom to undress for the shower. So the ritual then is that I get up to smoke, I go to the bedroom, I undress, I poop, I choose shower entertainment while pooping, and then I get in the shower, where another routine / ritual, the shower routine / ritual, takes over from there. So to manage the sensory side of things, part of it is just a suck it up buttercup type of mentality, type of approach. I do it in spite of the sensory discomfort that I described earlier. I also use distraction. I mentioned choosing shower entertainment. So I will have a video playing while I'm in the shower. And I'll use that video to help occupy my brain and distract from the sensory overload that is showering, right? I'll have a movie or an episode of whatever show I'm currently binging playing on my phone. Back in the day when I was still working and there were no waterproof smartphones yet, I had a waterproof radio that I would listen to my favorite morning radio show, which was on, the classic rock station back then. When that show's format changed and I no longer liked it, I set up a Bluetooth speaker in the shower and I would play music or a TED Talk or something else. I would play that to listen to while I was in the shower. To help me deal with the overheating and the humidity and the constant peppering of my skin with the spray of water, which I mentioned, even though it feels good at first, it eventually becomes overwhelming. We have one of those shower heads that you can just turn off the shower head. So I do that. I'll turn off the shower head while I'm shampooing, when I'm lathering up shampoo or conditioner, or while I'm soaping up or whatever, and then I'll turn it back on to rinse off. So I use that to help with the sensory issues. and distraction. That helps a lot. So even though the distraction technique helps a lot, and being able to turn off the spray of water periodically, even though that helps a lot, I still end up feeling drained, overheated, overstimulated. But yeah, but it does help, is what I'm saying. In the end, it does help. So, I also have to manage, the effects, the impact of my irregular hygiene. That's also a thing, right? So when I fail to motivate myself into a shower for a couple of days or so, the biggest concern for me is dental health and bad breath. I go through a lot of Listerine, and I floss daily, usually more than once a day, because some of my teeth are spaced absolutely perfectly to trap food. So I floss. I go through a lot of Listerine for my hair to help fend off that greasy feeling. I have a water bottle, and when I get up in the morning, I spritz my hair. I flip my head upside down, and I spritz the underside and everything. I don't soak my hair, but I get it just past the point of being damp, if that makes sense. And then, I'll flip it back and I'll finger comb it. The water, wetting it in the morning and everything, and then, scrunching it to try to rejuvenate the curls / waviness. That also helps fend off the greasy feeling for a little while. But honestly, when my hair starts feeling too greasy, that's one of the things that really, I can't stand things that feel greasy, remember? Well, oh no, I mentioned that in a previous video, sorry. I can't stand the feeling of things when they get greasy. So when my hair starts feeling too greasy, that actually becomes a motivator to get me to shower. I'm sure there's much more to say about this, but I'm kind of struggling to I'm having trouble thinking of what more to say, and I know there's more to say. Anyhow, I hope that some of this maybe helps others, other autistic folks who struggle with personal hygiene like I do, especially if they struggle with it because of autistic inertia and sensory issues. Hopefully some of the things that I do will help them or help you. Schedules, routines, distraction techniques, they truly help me manage my personal hygiene. But it's still hard, and I still fail at it a lot. Anyhow, normally at this point at the end of the episode, I ask people to share their own experiences. I'm not asking that this time. This episode was hard enough for me to make, for me to talk about my struggle with personal hygiene. As I said at the outset, this topic is a source of shame and embarrassment for many of us, and I will not ask people to make any shame or embarrassment public. I will ask for any tips any of you might have that might help autistic folks like me who struggle in this area. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question down below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, Keep living your best life and know that you deserve it.